Kia ora, ko whasmitahu, nā me ki te whare, welcome to the House. Parliament is having a pretty unrelenting week this week. The House took urgency on Tuesday evening, and that extended the sitting through Wednesday morning. And then the House will also be sitting on Thursday morning, that time as an extended sitting. So this week, most select committees aren't sitting. Some have had to cancel their plans or squeeze some work in at lunchtime. With a few exceptions, select committees and the House cannot sit at the same time. So spare a thought for the submitters and those who schedule them who've had their plans upended by urgency. If only they could have seen this coming.
The Honourable Kieran McAnulty.
Leader of the House for that comment. Does the government intend to move urgency next week?
Well, the member will just have to wait and see.
Oh, yeah, that's a yes.
That was the Leader of the House, Chris Bishop, answering a question after last Thursday's preview of the week to come. But that's not unusual. Extended sittings are signposted, but urgency is allowed to sneak up on you without much warning. So in a week packed with debating, what is it that's taking up the House's attention?
I move that the Outer Space and High Altitude Activities Amendment Bill be now read a first time.
The main reason for the urgency on Tuesday and Wednesday was space, or at least the ground bases. Minister for Space, Judith Collins.
This bill introduces a new authorisation regime for ground-based space infrastructure. Until now, these activities have not been subject to a dedicated regulatory framework.
Which is interesting, but the reason why, revealed later in the second reading debate, was much more interesting.
During the past 5 years, there have been several deceptive efforts by foreign actors to establish and or use ground-based space infrastructure in New Zealand to harm our national security. They have deliberately disguised their affiliations to foreign militaries and misrepresented their intentions. To date, these risks have been managed through non-regulatory measures, including relying on the goodwill of ground-based space infrastructure operators. These measures are no longer enough.
And that sounds like a thriller just waiting to be written. This was a bill that the parties largely agreed on. They even agreed that the urgency was reasonable. But opposition MPs were annoyed with the push-push pace of that urgency. Labour's Rachel Brooking.
And we are agreeing to the all stages urgency, yet members opposite still jump up and try and close down these very civil, thoughtful debates.
That is not the only interesting bill under discussion this week. Tuesday saw the first reading of the Healthy Futures Paia Ora Amendment Bill, which will now be considered by the Health Select Committee. That bill primarily enacts health targets and waters down Māori and Te Tiriti obligations from within the Health Administration. The Minister of Health, Simeon Brown, described the bill like this.
This bill is about cutting through bureaucracy, restoring accountability, and most importantly, putting patients first.
The opposition had numerous gripes, including this one from Dr. Tracy McClellan.
That is a chilling thing to do. You know, frontline health workers who have a professional obligation, an ethical and a legal obligation to call out things that they see in their professional practice is not political. It is professional, and they should not in any way, shape or form have this hanging over them, this concept of the misuse of public service neutrality.
Also on Tuesday, the Legislation Amendment Bill had a first reading and is now heading to the Justice Committee for public feedback. The Legislation Amendment Bill has been in development for a few years, and among its aims are making secondary legislation, like regulations, more easily accessible and more likely to be pruned once obsolete.
When either primary legislation or secondary legislation has an impact on people's lives, that they have access to that, and it shouldn't be something which is hidden away, and it shouldn't be something which is difficult to find.
By the way, don't confuse it with ACT's Regulatory Standards Bill, which has influenced its current shape, but which seems to be trying to do something rather different. Also up this week, a second reading debate for a bill that creates a new offence specific to stalking and harassment, and the myriad forms that those can take, including things like undermining reputation, opportunities, or relationships. The bill is actually a fascinating read, as an example of just how much cleverness is required to effectively draft law for crimes that are, by definition, quite nebulous. There's also a bill related to abuse in state care, one on police vetting, and one that raises the cash limit for the Disputes Tribunal. And that's not all of them by any means. The Parliament bill will get a second reading, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. Oh, and for fans of John le Carre, a second spook theme bill in the week, planned for Thursday, a bill on foreign interference that hopes to plug gaps in the law around things like treason, espionage, and even incitement to mutiny. You've been listening to The House. E te whakarongo koe ki te whare. This program is produced with funding from Parliament's Office of the Clerk. Mā te wā.